Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to repair your motor mounts for around $25 to $30.
This is for you. For scaring those things away.
If you were to repair your motor mounts, you would have to take them out of your car first, but I have gone ahead and purchased new ones, and I'm going to fill them up with 3M window weld. This process is similar for all cars. This video would be specific to a 2001 Subaru Impreza 2.5 RS. The process for removing and installing them should be the same for 1993 to 2007 Subaru Imprezas and I think some WRXs and STIs. So I'm just going to demonstrate the process right now, and then I'm going to remove the mounts from my car and reinstall them. If you are planning to reuse your mounts, this would be a good time to skip ahead to look at the removal process, then come back to this and then go to the reinstallation. The materials you will need are a caulking gun, 3M window weld, blue tape, gloves, and these are the left and right front engine motor mounts and the transmission mount as well. There's also a dog bone one on the top that I haven't taken out. If you've removed the motor mounts from your car, this would be a good time to clean them with detergent, and once you've done that, you can start here. So the process is pretty simple. I'm just going to take some blue tape. I'm going to tape off the ends of all these, and then I'm going to use the 3M window weld and spray it in these locations, in these gaps that they fill up. I think it cures in a day or two, but I'm going to leave it here for a week just so that I know that it cures fully. Here we go. So we're just going to take the blue tape. I don't think it matters which side you do it. Next, I'm going to put my gloves on because this window weld stuff is pretty messy. I hope I have enough. I'm reusing an old bottle. Since I'm using an old bottle, a lot of this old stuff dried up. Something bad really happened. You see this entire tube, it was actually a lot longer. Because I used it before and stored it for a few months, it actually hardened on this end. So every time I was pushing with the caulking gun, it actually wasn't going anywhere, and eventually this actually broke off the rivets. So this piece was independent of that, and it was just wasn't working. So I decided to use some bolts and nuts to tighten it, and it still wasn't working. So eventually what I decided to do was actually use these tin snips, snip this container open, and actually just used a flathead screwdriver, destroyed this. I should be able to pick this off once it dries. I was just like using this, fishing the window weld and just jamming it in here, so it doesn't look very pretty. I know it looks really ugly, but as long as it's functional, right? Doesn't really matter how it looks. Just want to show you guys that that is secure, and once I buy a new tube, I'll show you guys how to actually do it, where you just squeeze it in there. So I ran out. I will need to buy a new tube, and I'll continue this later. I ended up picking up another tube because my other one dried out. I have the dog bone out. I actually took this off of the car as I filled these up and waited for them to dry. It's been about a week. I think they're good to go. I'll just put these aside. Over here, we have the new tube. We'll need to puncture a hole right here. Just gonna cut a small hole. Okay. I'm gonna pop this off. Put this in the caulking gun. And I already put a piece of plastic underneath this just so it doesn't get everywhere, but essentially we're just gonna fill this hole in. Do all 4 of these. Check the other side. Oh, it's not in all the way. Then I'm just going to fill this void in as well. But I don't want it to be higher than the piece of metal. I have this screwdriver that I don't really care about. Just going to smoothen it out. Could probably use some more over here. Do the same thing on the other side. I have both sides complete. I'm just going to lay this down and let it dry on its side. And for this one, I'm just going to pretty much fill it in. I checked the other side to make sure it actually got in there, and it did not. Gonna keep filling this in. It's not the best looking, but it's finally filled. So I'm just gonna set this aside and wait for it to dry. Just want to show you guys in relation to where things are. The motor mount, one of them is right there. The other one is on the other side, right there in the middle. And then the transmission mount, we go all the way, it's right there in the middle of the frame. So that's what I'll be removing. We got to remove these headers. It makes it a lot easier to remove the mount. This is a 14mm bolt. I think these are supposed to be 14mm, but when I bought the car they were missing half of the nuts, so I just decided to replace them all with the same one. I'm using a 15mm socket, might be 14 for you. Slowly like this. And this one's 14mm. Same thing on this side. With the car on jack stands, I'm going to lower this. Put a piece of 2x4 on it. Raise it up. Got the engine lifted, so if you look back here, there's a bolt right there that we need to get out. I have this 14mm on a 1/2" socket, and I'm just pulling as hard as I can to pop this off. Finally getting it out. I finished it off with this 3/8" ratchet. Got this off. I don't know why, but for some reason this one was a bit trickier to get to. So what I ended up doing was using this breaker bar and using a 1/2" to 3/4" adapter, and then another 3/8" extension with the 14mm on the end. I was able, because there's like no space to get your ratchet in here. If you guys can see right there, that's where the bolt is, and this thing is in the way, so just had the socket had it extended and got enough leverage to break it. On the left we have the old one. It's actually not in bad condition. Then we have the one that we made solid. So I'm just gonna take this off the bracket and put this one on right now. These are also 14mm. Make sure these match orientation. Make sure both bolts are in before you tighten them. And loosen this up. Make sure this matches the right orientation. Put this back on. Gonna put this back on. Lower this down to make sure that these line up. I have a piece of 2x4 and the jack underneath the transmission, so I'm just going to loosen all these bolts. lifted the jack up more. Just use the pry bar. Got this up. Two. Three. Four. Old one and the new one. One of the drawbacks of buying aftermarket is that the holes don't always line up. I had this mounted and these didn't line up, so I had to drill some more and then probably paint it just so it doesn't rust, and then put it back in. Put all these back in. And here we're just gonna reverse the steps. Put this back in. I just finished putting the new motor mounts and transmission mount in the car. It was a pain in the butt, but I just wanted to show you the condition of these. Starting to tear up here, starting to tear up there, starting to tear here, and this was ripping there as well. And then this one, this side seems fine, but if we go to the other side, you can see that it's starting to tear. So I might salvage these. I still have some window weld. I can probably fill them in or clean it up and fill it in, and then I can have a spare set in case I need to replace them in the future or if I wanted to sell them. Okay, that's it. I'll probably post a video of the car. It drives a lot smoother, it shifts a lot smoother. There's some rattling noise, but I just drove it around the block, so I didn't really get a chance to really test it.